Okay, so now we have our app working. I'm sure we could resize things if we wanted to. I did fix the icon so the icon takes me to the right place, but I think you understand the idea. Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess and I'm a Power Platform developer. So today I wanted to make a responsive app. Last week we created this emergency rescue app. So if you wanted to come take a look at it, I'll probably put this video in the properties of the YouTube. But we can see we made a phone app and it's not responsive. So if we were to go to a tablet, maybe a larger one, you can see that it's not responsive. Let's try maybe the full screen. Looks like we can't even convert it on this mode. So we only have the option to show the phone app. Let's make it responsive so it stretches horizontally and vertically. So I have a new Power App here, and you notice I'm in tablet view. When I created, my preference is to make responsive in tablet. That's just my opinion. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some containers. Now the first container I'm going to add is going to be the vertical container. And I'm going to have this take up the entire space. Now if we look at our old Power App, we notice that there's two containers, or I can see it, but maybe you'll start to see it. But there's one container here for the title, and then one container is going to contain both of the buttons. So I'm going to add two containers inside container one. You got to be very careful when you do this. So insert container, and it's going to be a horizontal container. And then make sure you don't put it inside container two, right? Make sure you come back to container one, insert a new container, horizontal container. All right, so you can see I have two containers now. So let's go ahead and add some things in here just to kind of take a look. We can even copy paste. I could probably take this label, paste it in here. Now you notice it's not fitting in there perfectly like we want, but what we can do, and we got to make sure, let me move my face for this video. So I'm going to move myself over here. That way I'm not blocking any of the settings. So for this label, I'm going to stretch it for the entire container, right? So right here, it says aligned by container. I'm going to stretch it for the entire container. Okay, so we have our title in there. We don't have our buttons. Let's just add two buttons, or I can actually copy paste. I can take these two buttons, Control C, come down here, Control V, copy paste them in. There's some red X's because I don't have my other screens. That's fine. For now, we're just going to extend it, justify it horizontally, and also stretch it. And I believe we'll do the flexible height. That's fine. All right, so we have our two containers. We have the container 2 and container 3. Those are our two horizontal containers. Now in our main container, the container number 1, what we want to do is go to the width value. The width value, and we want to say it's equal to parent.width. So what is the parent of container 1? That's screen 1. Parent of container 2 is container 1. So now that we have set the parent of container 1 to the width of screen 1, the main thing that we have to do, and I should have done this first, was we have to go to settings, display, turn off lock aspect ratio, and turn off scales to fit. So it's kind of backwards thinking to me, right? Scale to fit. No, turning this off allows screens and controls to fill the available space. Okay, so let's turn that off. And let's take a look at what we have right now. So right now it's not fitting perfect, but we can see we have a little bit of more work to do. So let's go to container 2 and the width again, parent.width. Okay, let's take a look again. Look, the title is now fitting in there correctly. Okay, so now let's do container 3, parent.width. The parent of container 3 is not container 2, right? The parent is the one that's indented on the outside. So actually the parent is container 1. So let's take a look at what we got now. Now we can only see one button, but you do see that it's kind of fitting, right? So let's click on this container. We do have it aligned and justified. So now there's a couple ways we can do this. And this is kind of, preference. For me, I'm just going to take the easy way out. And for me, easy is math. So I'm just going to come to the width of the button. I'm just going to say parent.width divided by 2. I'm going to do the same thing on the other button. On the width property, parent.width divided by 2. Let's see what it looks like now. All right, so we have our title and our 2 buttons, but what's not happening is the height. The height is not scaling. So now we need to go to screen 1, or actually container 1, and go to the height. Parent.height. Let's take a look. All right, we're now taking up the entire space. If we change our phone app type, you can see it takes up the space. Depending on, and you notice that this is not perfect. That's one great thing about viewing the different size phones that we have. We can go to tablet, and we can see it fits there. All right, but now I think our buttons are giant, right? And the title, we want to have more space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to container 3. I'm going to rename this just to help us. I'm going to call this container buttons, CON buttons, and this one will be CON title, just to help us understand what's going on. Okay, so now in container buttons, we have a section here called fill portions, right? So we have 2 portions. If we were to have another container, this number here would become a 3. So let me just add another container just to kind of take a look at that. Insert container, a horizontal one. Now you notice that our fill portions became a 3. I can't change this here, right? This is grayed out. And when I remove it, it'll go back to 1 of 2. 1 of 2. So fill portions, we want the title to take up more space. I'm going to say something like 5. Let's see what happens there. That is starting to look more like what I like. The buttons are a lot smaller, but still pressable, right? You got to think about it. You're going to have your cell phone. When you press the button, you want the button big enough for people to be able to press it. So if we're on our phone, on an iPhone, you can see that the buttons are now big enough for people to press it. All right, so we have a title screen. Now the next thing is sometimes you have too many words or too big of a text to fit in on a cell phone on a small button. Now this is just an idea, and I'm going to leave this to you to figure out, but I'm just going to show you the idea. So in this container, I'm going to add an icon, and let's see, edit profile. So we'll look for people, a people icon, right? And so it's over here, and I want it to be the width to be parent.width divided by 2. Now we still can't see it, right? Because we have half and half, but our icon is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this button. So the visibility property of this button, I'm going to go to visible. Right now it's true. I'm going to say if parent.width is less than, let's say 300, then it's not visible, else it is. So let's take a look. It looks like 300 is not a good number. But right now, let's try, how about 700? I believe the whole thing, the whole parent.width normally on a tablet is 1366. This is just from experience. So I'm going to go to 700. If it's less than half of that, then it's going to go invisible. The visibility property will become false. So let's try it. Okay, now our button has turned into an icon, right? And maybe we can, kind of manipulate the icon to make it look better. So we can say, let me just change that. Okay, so now our button converts to an icon on a smaller screen. So I want to figure out that exact width it is depending on what type of media I'm using or what type of phone or tablet. So I'm going to insert another container. And it's going to be, actually I'm in the wrong spot. I got to make sure I'm here. So let's insert a container. If I can spell, right? Horizontal container. And I'm going to insert a text label in here. And I want it to take up the entire space. And I want the width to be parent.width. Okay, and we'll center it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this container to tell me what size everything is. So I can just come to the text. I believe I could say self.width. So you can see I knew that off the top of my head. It was 1366. But as we resize things, I can see the exact width of the type of media I'm using. So you can see 14,375. This is huge, right? So now you can actually build your apps based on that number. So, you know, we can look at tablet sizes, 810. So if it's 810, it's not going to show that icon. So that's really good. So on one of the smaller tablets, it's not going to show that icon. But if we go to a phone size, it will switch to the icon. Okay? So now I'm going to, I showed you how to do that. I'm going to delete this. So you have to think vertically and horizontally with every container. Next, I'm going to put a background in here. All right, so I added a background, but the label's in the way. My opinion, what I do with labels or like backgrounds is what I do is I turn the background to black, right? I turn it completely to black and I make the font white. But the background here, I go to custom and I change the alpha value to maybe 70. So now we kind of have that see-through black background. So when we take a look at it, we still get our, I don't really like the font, but we still get our buttons and we can see the background. And when we change sizes, let's say we go to a larger iPad Pro, you still get that nice look. Now I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on your UI, UX. That's for another video. But you get the idea. You can make the background look better depending on what you do with your text and everything. Okay, so we did the home screen. That was the easy part. And I told someone on Twitter that I would be able to do this in under 20 minutes. Let's see if we can. So now we're going to do new screens. We need 2 more screens. On screen 2, I'm going to do just like on screen 1. I'm going to add a horizontal container. So container. I'm going to add a vertical container. A vertical container for the entire space. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to width. I'm going to say parent.width. And height, I'm going to say parent.height. Now, if we go back to my old app or my other app, in my opinion, there are 3 containers here. There's one for the gallery, there's one for our pop-up, and there's one for our buttons. So I'm going to create 3 containers of type, I believe that's horizontal. Let's see. Container. Yeah, I want 3 new horizontal containers inside this container. So all of them will be inside container 6. And you do want to rename these. For my purpose, I'm not going to rename them for this video. All right, so I created my connections already. I've connected to my SharePoint list and my Office 365 users. If you want to learn about that, previous video. This video, we're making it responsive. So the first container is going to be my gallery. So I'm just going to go to this, and I'm going to take the gallery. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it over in this container. Now I've created my gallery. I have it in there. It's in 1/3 of the space. Now let's see here. In container 10, we probably want to do the width as parent.width. And we probably want to do that on each of our containers all the way down. Width, parent.width, and container 12, parent.width. Okay, so now the bottom is going to be our buttons. I'm just going to go to screen 1. and take these two buttons. Paste it in. All right, and we want to stretch it. All right, so we're using all that space. And the reason I copy paste is because I already had that, you know, it resized and everything correctly. Now container in the middle here, I'm going to go to my previous Power App and I'm going to take, I did create my pop-up in a container last time, so this makes it super easy for me. I'm just going to copy the container and put it in container 11. When I click on them, you can see the pop out is there. The X button is not in there. So let's fix the width of these. So this container, the width is parent.width. So we're just doing the same thing. Now everything is not fitting perfect. So I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to hold down Control, highlight everything, and I'm going to turn on flexible height. You can see all of that. To me, it's working correctly. So I'm just going to say for now, we're good. Now we are missing the icon. So on this page, we're missing this icon that was hidden, and I'm just going to put it in container 2. All right, so now if we get smaller, it turns into an icon. We can close this. We have our full gallery. We don't have a background yet. Maybe I'll add a background real quick. All right, I added a background. You can see it's pretty clear. When we close this, some of it's see-through, some of it's not. Oh, the reason that was happening is because my background needs to be fill instead of fit. There we go. So now we're looking better. Yeah, we'll leave that white. I'm fine with all of that. The X is a little off. That's just because I have a border radius. So yeah, I just fixed the border radius. That made that X fit correctly. So this looks better. We have our icons. That grew. Maybe we don't want that to grow, but let's just go on to screen 3 now. We have one more screen. And screen 3, let's see what we have here. So it looks like to me we have a form. It needs to be see-through and a couple buttons. And then there's this is a hidden gallery. So to me, there's only 2 containers here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the vertical container because that's going to take up all the space. And then in our vertical container, we're going to add 2 horizontal containers. So in our vertical container, we're going to add 2 horizontal containers. All right, we have them. I remember from last time that the fill portions for this is 5. I'm going to take the buttons here and the icon, and I'm going to copy them over into this container. All right, so we already have that working. We have our buttons working. In the top part from my old app, I'm just going to take the form, copy it over, paste it in. All right, so the form, maybe we want to center it. Let's see if we can center it. Let's see how it looks. Oh, it's not fitting it. Oh, wait, it's because it's not a new item. Oh, we don't have that hidden gallery yet. We also need this hidden gallery that we did last time. So if you want to learn more about that, you got to watch the last video. So we put a hidden gallery in here. Now everything is working. Let's see, this is not fitting perfectly. So let's go to the form. And the width is parent.width. If I can spell parent right, there we go, parent.width. So that's sort of fitting in there. It looks like we need to make each of our cards width, parent.width. And I probably could have highlighted each of the cards. So highlight each of the cards. And width. Oh, what's width fit? Width fit. What does that do? Is that new? Oh, you don't have to do parent.width anymore. I learned something new today. Width.fit. You can just turn it to true. All right, so now we have our form. Everything's fitting in there. We can go back in. We can make this icon work. I don't think the icon is working. So just on select. On select, we're going to navigate to, I believe it's screen 2 on a cover right. All right, so we now have our full app working. I could probably make the buttons navigate correctly, but I think you understand how we did this, how we made this responsive. And it's through the containers. I learned something new while I was doing this video. There's a new option now in containers, and it's not here. But where was that? It was in the cards. In the cards, there's WidthFit. True. If you set that to true, it will resize itself based on the container. So that's really neat. So in the cards of a form, there's width.fit. Looks like we're not fitting exactly perfectly, so maybe we want to do the container parent.height, this one, height. Parent.height, okay. And the buttons here, they need to align the entire spacing. There we go. Okay, so now we have our app working. I'm sure we could resize things if we wanted to. I did fix the icon so the icon takes me to the right place, but I think you understand the idea. So thank you all for watching. We showed how we could make a phone app. We can convert things to icons if it is too small to fit the space. So if the spacing is larger, it will change into a button with text. If it's too small, it will go to an icon. We showed how to see the width by number. So we did self.width. We could see that number. We copy pasted our old app into this new app. Everything is now responsive. This is going to look beautiful on a phone, tablet, desktop. This is the way forward. Containers are not that hard. At first, they're a little, tricky, but I think anyone can do this. It didn't take me that long. Honestly, if I wasn't talking the whole time, I probably could have done this in 10 minutes, converted this entire app to responsive. So thank you all for watching. My name is Andrew Hess. I'll see you next time.